NCO. Then the last one is the sixth one is the lithium titanate. So let's discuss about the each and every battery in detail. So first one is the lithium cobalt dioxide. So LCO has the high specific energy, which makes the lithium cobalt the popular choice for mobile phones, laptops, and digital cameras. So this battery consists of a cobalt oxide as cathode and graphite carbon on the anode side. So the cathode has a layered structure, and during the discharge, lithium ion moves from the anode to cathode. Okay, the flow reverses on the charge. The drawback of the lithium ion cobalt is relatively it has a short lifespan, low thermal stability, and limited load capabilities. So, like other cobalt blended lithium ion, the lithium ion cobalt has a graphite anode, and that limits the cycle life by changing the solid electrolyte interface. So, thickening on the anode and the lithium plating while fast charging and discharging at the low temperature. So the newer system include the nickel, manganese, or and aluminum to improve the longevity, loading capabilities, and cost. So lithium cobalt should not be charged and discharged at the current higher than its C ratings. So this means that on 18650 cell with the 2.4 ampere hour can only be charged and discharged at 2.4 ampere hour. So forcing at the fast charge or applying a high load higher than the 2.4 ampere causes overheating, and there will be the undue stresses occur in that. So for the optimal fast charge, the manufacturer recommends a C rate of approximate zero point 0.8 C. So the you can find the hexagonal a spider graphic in figure. So it summarizes the performance of lithium and cobalt in terms of specific energy or a capacity that relates to runtime, specific power, or the ability to deliver high current, safety, performance at cold and hot temperature, then lifespan, reflecting cycle life, and longevity and cost. So this is all about the lithium cobalt dioxide. Here you can find it consists of the lithium cobalt on cathode side and graphite on the anode side. And if we compare the specification chart, the voltage is 3.6 volt nominal, and its operating range is 3 to 4.2 volt. So this is the recommended range by the operator by the chemistry according to it has a specific energy, that is a capacity between 150 to 200 watt hour per kg, and it can the specialty cells this can provide up to 240 watt hour per kg, and it is recommended with the C rating of 0.7 to 1 C, and charges to the 4.2 volt max. It takes a 3 hours charge typically, and the discharge C rate is 1C, that is the 60 minutes. So the life cycle, it provides the 500 to 1000 cycles. So these are the charging as well as discharging cycles. And the thermal runaway, it can sustain up to 150 degrees Celsius. The full charge promotes the thermal runaway also. So up to accessing 150, more than 150, it can cause the thermal runaway. And the most prominent applications, it has the mobile phones, tablets and laptops and cameras. So moving towards the next chemistry. So second is the lithium manganese oxide. Okay, so lithium manganese with the spinal has the first published in Material Research Bulletin in 1983. So in 1996, Moli Energy commercialized the lithium ion cell with lithium manganese oxide as a cathode material. So in this, the architecture forms a three-dimensional spinal structure that improves the ion flow on the electrode, and which results in lower internal resistance and improved current handling. A further advantage of the spinal is a higher thermal stability and enhanced safety, but the cycle and the calendar life are limited. So, due to the low internal cell resistance, it enables fast charging and high current discharging. So, in an 18650 package, lithium ion manganese can be discharged at a currents of 20 to 30 ampere with a moderate heat built up. A continuous high load at this current would cause heat built up and the cell temperature cannot exceed 80 degrees Celsius. So the lithium manganese is used for power tools, medical instruments, as well as the hybrid and electric vehicles. Lithium manganese has a capacity that is roughly one third lower than the lithium cobalt. So design flexibility allows the engineer to maximize the battery for the either optimal lifespan, specific power, or high specific energy. So most of the lithium manganese batteries blend with the lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide, that is NMC, to improve the specific energy and prolong the lifespan. So this combination brings out the best in each system, and the LMO, that is the lithium manganese oxide, is chosen for the most electric vehicles such as Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, and BMW i3. So the LMO part of the battery, which can be about the 30%, provides the high current boost on acceleration. NMC parts gives the long driving range also. So we can consider the cathode. It is in the form of a lithium manganese oxide, and the graphite is in the form of anode. And the voltage is provided with the 3.7 volt, having the specific energy of 100 to 150 watt hour per kg. It is also having the typical C rate of zero point 0.7 to 1 C, and it has a discharge rate of 1 C, possibly 10 C also, and the cycle life is around 300 to 700 deep cycle. So and thermal runaway, it takes place at 250 degrees Celsius. As previously we seen that the lithium cobalt oxide, it has a thermal runaway at 150 degrees Celsius, whereas compared to lithium manganese oxide LMO, it has the thermal runaway up to 250 degrees Celsius. So we can consider that up to 250 degrees Celsius, the temperature, the cell can withstand that particular temperature. And it has a particular application in power tool, medical devices, electric powertrains, and all. So according to this spider graph, you can see the specific energy, cost, specific power and lifespan, performance and safety. So these are the some basic idea of the lithium and manganese oxide. So always consider that on the cathode side there is a lithium manganese oxide, and there is always graphite on the anode side. So moving towards the lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide, that is NMC chemistry. So this is the most common, most successful lithium ion system as cathode combination is nickel manganese cobalt, that is NMC. So NMC batteries currently account for nearly 28% of the global EV sales, and it will acquire the market share growth to 68% by 2017. So 2027. So NMC uses the lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide as the cathode and the graphite as the anode. Hence, the specific energy density of the NMC is 150 to 220 watt hour per kg, with the thermal runaway being up to 210 degrees Celsius. The high cost and the toxic nature of the cobalt is leading battery manufacturer to move towards the higher nickel content in the cathode. So as compared to cobalt, nickel cells have a lower cost and longer cycle life. The main application of this chemistry, uh, we can see from the figure that when discussed with the advantages, an NMC battery generally has a longer cycle life, more stability, and higher energy density than lithium cobalt oxide and lithium iron phosphate batteries. It also has a lower cost of energy because of the ability of the NMC battery to cycle with more stability than NCA battery. So the battery has a high cycle life suitable for both off-grid and very unstable grids, with commercial products featuring a 60% state of charge, greater than 6,000 cycles at 90% discharge depth of discharge. So when compared to its disadvantages, at a certain temperature, the cathode, that is cobalt in this case, releases the oxygen, which makes the cell combustible because of the reaction between the electrolyte and oxygen. So for LFP cathode, the oxygen phosphorus bond is not broken until 350 degrees Celsius, whereas this temperature range is much lower in this NMC. Hence, NMC batteries are less safe because of the high toxic nature of the cobalt. So you can find its application that is in e-bikes, medical devices, EVs, industries, and all. So due to the high cost and toxic nature of the cobalt, they are leading the battery manufacturers more towards the higher nickel content in the cathode, and they are mostly suitable for power banks, torches, EVs, some of the EVs, and cordless power tools, laptop battery packs, and so on. So you can find it has also has the voltage of provides the 3.6 volt, nominal volt of 3.7 volt, and specific energy is 150 to 200, 220 watt hour per kg, having the C rate of zero point 0.7 to 1 C, and it has a discharge C rate at 1 C, possibly 2 C also. 2C is that it has a 1 hour, 2 hours of discharge rate, and it provides the cycle life of 1000 to 2000, which is comparatively more than previous chemistry, LMO. And the cost is $420 per kilowatt hour. Okay, so the most important chemistry which we can find in the market, that is lithium iron phosphate, LFP. So lithium iron phosphate offers a good electrochemical performance with low resistance. This is made possible with nanoscale phosphate cathode material. The key benefit of this LFP is it provides high current ratings and long cycle life. Beside that, it also provides good thermal stability and enhance safety. So LFP batteries use lithium iron phosphate as a cathode material and graphite carbon as a electrode, and as the electrode on the anode side. So the global market value is around 4.72 billion dollars USD. It was in 2016, and now it is projected to grow at 20.7% from 2017 to 2025. So reaching it up to 25.47 billion dollar USD by 2025, which is a huge, and there is a bulk requirement in this chemistry. So the overall market demand for LFP will double to over 2 lakhs tons per year. So the Asia Pacific region is expected to dominate the market, with the major application being automobiles. So coming to its advantages, so before coming to the advantages, the lithium ion core has been found and the reservoirs has been found in India, at Karnataka, and most of the region of Assam and Odisha. So India is also coming back with the particularly produce the lithium ion cells, and having the gigafactory itself in India. As of now, lithium ion is found mostly in Australia, Chile, uh, and due to that, we import these cells from China, and due to this, the cost of production, cost of transportation, it's quite bulky for our people, and due to this, we can find the electric vehicles in India, they are quite expensive in nowadays. So coming to its advantages, so with operating range from minus 4.4 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius, LFP batteries handle for wider variations in temperature than other chemistry. So they also have a slightly higher self-discharge rate and a low cell voltage of 3.3 volt. So the thermal runaway are less common for an lithium iron phosphate battery, as it doesn't require cobalt. And the disadvantages are LFP batteries have a lower energy density and last for a shorter time period of as compared to NMC and NCA batteries. In recent development, lithium-ion battery nanophosphate batteries can be used extensively in applications such as electric and hybrid vehicles and renewable energy generation. So most of these batteries are suitable for the temperature range of about 270 degrees Celsius, and these cells provides the most advantage is they have the best cycle life, that is the discharge and charge levels up to 2000, more than 2000 cycles. So the next is lithium nickel cobalt aluminum oxide, that is NCA. So NCA batteries are becoming increasingly important in electric powertrains and in grid storage because of the recent increment in energy density, that is more than 280 watt hour per kg, which was previously in this it was a 150 to 220 watt hour per kg range. So they are subclassified into the cylindrical as well as in prismatic cells. So advantage of NCA batteries are it requires a small amount of active materials yet can deliver a higher energy density. So they are also more stable than NMC batteries due to the addition of aluminium. And the disadvantage of the NCA batteries pose a safety challenges when compared to the LFP batteries, as they are more prone to a thermal runaway. So the another setback is cost, as they are expensive to the mass production due to the limited application. So the in recent development for long range vehicles, Tesla is currently using the NCA cell chemistry. So the Tesla was using NCA in the first model, that is Model S, in 2012, and it had a 15% of cobalt content in that. So you can find it has a specific energy capacity almost with the 200 to 260 watt hour per kg, which is quite good. And it has a disadvantages is that even though it has a capability to store the more energy, but it has the cycle life of 500 cycles only. So it can discharge and we have to replace the batteries almost in 2 or 3 years, as compared to in lithium and phosphate we can replace the batteries up to 8 years or up to 10 years. So the application are the medical devices, EV powertrains, which has been used in Tesla. And you can find it has contents of the 5% of aluminum, 15% of cobalt, and 80% of the nickel on the cathode side, and the always graphite is remains on the anode side. And the last chemistry is the lithium titanate. So a lithium titanate battery is a modified lithium ion battery that uses the lithium titanate nanocrystals instead of carbon. So on the surface of its anode, okay, this gives the anode a surface area of about 100 square meters per gram compared with the 3 square meters per gram for the carbon. So allowing the electrons to enter and leave anode quickly, this makes the fast recharging possible and provides the high current when needed. So the disadvantage is the lithium titanate battery is that they have a lower inherent current voltage of only 2.4 volt, which leads to a lower specific energy, that is about 32 110 watt hour per kg, than conventional lithium ion battery technologies which have inherent voltage of 3.7 volt. The chemistry has an advantage of the being faster to charge than other chemistries from the lithium ion batteries, but the disadvantage is it provides much lower energy density. So you can find it has a life cycle of 3,000 to 7,000, but the nominal voltage is very low, that is 2.4 volt, and the specific energy capacity is 50 to 80 watt hour per kg. So they are not mostly used for the prominently used in the mass production. They are used for the UPS UPS applications, electric powertrain, and mostly in the hybrid vehicles. Than the solar powered street light, where there is a requirement of quick charge and quick discharge of the batteries. So at that place, this lithium titanate is most commonly suitable. So this is the comparison of the all the batteries we had discussed. The most common batteries, that is LCO, LMO, NMC, LCA, and LFP. So this is the comparison chart. You can find the typical voltage. It is 3.7 volt for LCO, 3.7 volt for LMO, 3.6 volt for an NMC, is 3.6, and LFP it is 3.2 volt. specific energy you can categorize. So LFP has a 90 to 125, and the most highest cycle life LFP provides around 1000 to 3000 cycles, which can last for more than 5 years. And if you compare to the durability in high temperature, so the LCO has a low durability. Also, LMO has a low durability. NMC has a low durability. NCA has durability. But the lithium iron phosphate provides the high durability. So you can check the temperature, thermal runaway temperature it can withstand. So the operating temperature it has differed, and the LFP provides the at 270 degrees Celsius it can withstand, and the cost of production also LFP has a very low. And according to the application, you can see Tesla Roadster has used LCO chemistry, Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volta, and BMW i3 has implemented with LMO chemistry. Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, and BMW i3 has implemented with NMC chemistry, and Tesla Model 3, Model S has been implemented with NCA chemistry. And nowadays in Indian market, you can see the Tata Tigor and Nexon. They have used the LFP chemistry because of the advantage of low cost of production, high thermal runaway capabilities, having the more cycle life, and having the more specific energy capacity. So hopefully you understood the difference between all the chemistries uh, as per their benefits and as per their cost of production, their cycle life, their C rating, the durability, and to withstand the particular temperature.
DOMES,
So guys, you have any? Hello.
DOMES, TIC.
I think someone's mic is.
Please mute your devices. If anybody want to ask the question, you can ask, but it is request to keep the devices mute so that background noise won't be there. And before proceeding, sir, I have one small doubt.
Yeah.
Lithium iron phosphate can we use for our in our campus utility vehicle making battery?
Yes.
Means
Yes.
can
Of
we use
course.
this battery for our
Yes.
CUV vehicle which we are supposed to make after 1 year?
Yes. Definitely. Because most LFP is the most commonly used, and it is cheaply available in the market. Even check on the online sites, you will get at a very reasonable rate. And most of the batteries, most of the startups, they are building these batteries with the LFP chemistry only, because as per their advantage, I mentioned it has a good cycle life. It can withstand for the good thermal stability. So as compared to the low battery pack for the mopeds as well as for bicycles, for small battery packs, they didn't require any thermal runaway or any thermal management capability. So they can withstand on that particular sense of temperature range. And you can find on the Nexon EV, Tigor and all. So as per our climatic condition, they had implemented LFP batteries, and these are the commonly used LFP batteries, and you can get everywhere available at a cheaper rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And one more next question. Sir, in 1 year, I had done one small project. If the battery location on the vehicle is changed, or if we vary its
Mhm.
location from back side to the rear side or very close to the driver, then the balancing and the weight distribution of vehicle also get impacted. So lithium
Right,
ion
right.
phosphate battery, can we assemble them as per our requirement? Means can we assemble them in small packs, or can we distribute them and then we can we connect them? And what about the location of BMS on such a distributed batteries? Because balancing weight distribution and the calculation of CG of the complete vehicle is dependent on its distribution, mass distribution, and battery and
Right, right.
motor are the most heaviest part or one of the heaviest parts in a vehicle. So can we just
Yes, yes.
can you please focus some light on it?
Yeah, yeah. When we are developing any particular vehicle, so first, while designing the vehicle, we should understand the center of gravity of that particular vehicle. And the battery pack is mostly we built on the chassis side. So under the seat or under the in moped under the seat or in cycles in between the driver's paddle. So in this condition we have to configure we have to customize the battery pack in such a way that as per the area available in the space available in the battery design, we have to design the battery pack and we have to customize it, and according to that we have to implement the BMS, and we can properly balance the weight of the vehicle.
Okay, sir. Okay, okay, no problem. Okay, okay.
So the comparison of lithium ion batteries characteristics in different types of batteries which we have discussed. So as compared to the safety, cost, performance, specific energy, specific power, lifespan. So here you can find NCA, NMC, LMO, LTO, and LFP. So LFP you can find having the reasonably cheaper cost with the good performing with the good safety level, has a good little bit good performance. Specific energy is quite low, specific power is quite average, and the lifespan is the highest, which due to these reasons LFP is prominently used in Indian market, and also it will be used in future technologies also. So the effect on the future cost of lithium ion batteries, so as you can see, so the lithium ion prices are expected to manufacturing capacity RAMSM. And in 2011, you can find the EVs, the cost of production of the cell was almost $600 per kilowatt hour. And drastically, as the implementation of the mass production for the EVs, it has becoming reaching to the level of $200 per kilowatt hour, and it will get lower in upcoming years also. So as discussed, the lithium ion batteries, lithium ion phosphate versus lead acid batteries, the benefit we had already discussed. We have it has a good lithium ion batteries has 50 to 75% less carbon footprint. It has a 30 to 50% lower cost of total cost of ownership. This includes the lower cooling cost, upfront capital cost, and lower other operating expenses also. It provides 2 or 3 times more longer expected life as compared to lead acid batteries, and reduces the burden and cost of the battery replacement, risk of downtime, and other load interruption during the maintenance. And most important, as compared to lead acid batteries, it is 60 to 70% lighter in weight, so it provides the flexibility to install on the any floor while minimizing the structural modification requirement. And the most important, the lead acid batteries required a longer charging life, while as compared to the lithium, they can charge 5 times more faster, and full charge in less than just 2 hours. And it can withstand for the wider temperature range, allow which is 20 to 80 degrees Celsius, as compared to the VRLA battery cannot sustain that much temperature. So the lithium battery manufacturing in India. So the current scenario is in early in 2019, ISRO chose 10 companies to transfer its indigenously developed low-cost lithium-ion cell technology. So these are companies which ISRO has chosen for the development of lithium-ion batteries, in which the Amara Raja batteries, Bharat Electronics, then then Carborundum Universal Limited at Kochi. So these are the listed 10 preferred manufacturing companies. Those have the authority to manufacture the lithium batteries, and they have the authority to do the development, research and development on it. And globally, the largest lithium batteries manufacturer till 2021 we can find, that is the LG Chem is taking the share of 26.5%. Then CATL, which is the Chinese 25. Then it comes with the Panasonic batteries. It has a market share of 20.6%. SDI, that is a Samsung battery, 6.8%. BYD is a electric vehicle, which is have the market share of 6.2%, and remaining other comes with the 14.1% market share. Hopefully you understood till this, and now we are moving towards the battery management system, which is the very important concept. And so we will learn about the battery management system. So what is the battery management system? So battery management system monitors the battery used in EV should not get overcharged or over discharged in order to avoid the damaging of the battery, shortening the battery life, and causing the fire or explosion. So BMS always functions with the battery modeling, battery state estimation, battery cell balancing is one of the key points to protect the battery and optimize the utilization of battery in EVs. Also, BMS protects the battery from uneven temperature inside the battery. Depending on the electrochemical chemistry used in the battery, the optimum range is different, but the ideal optimum temperature of electric car battery is 45 degrees Celsius in order to keep the performance and the life of the battery. So this is how you can find, you can see the BMS looks like. It is implemented with some ICs, MOSFETs, resistors, and this way it is connected with this the cell integration, charging port, and connected to the battery. So the what motivation we have from the BMS? So batteries in EVs plays very important function. Okay, so in global auto market, battery storage and its efficiency is being tremendously used. Also, will expand in future decades also. So currently, many new startups face problem of battery safety and its initial cost. So even though lithium ion can be provide higher power capacity, but for proper flow of control protection, circuit is needed to ensure the safety of the vehicle. So as we know, the lithium batteries are very complex in nature. So for that purpose, the BMS is implemented on that in order to provide the proper flow of voltage, current, temperature, and diagnosis all over the battery performance. So this is the typical battery management system block diagram. Here you can see the battery pack. Cells are coupled into this battery pack, huge battery pack, and from this the measurement is taken place. That is the voltage level of each cell, current of each cell, what are the temperature they are performing, whether the cell is balanced properly, and this commands and this information took place is controlled to the thermal management, state of health of the battery, state of charge of the battery, and capability estimation. And from these the CAN bus controller stores the data as well as provides the data towards the dashboard, and from that we can customize whether at what temperature or at what voltage, if it exceeds that, it will have the cutoff of the power. So this is the basic block diagram of BMS. So the safe operation area for lithium ion cell. So the safe operating area of the lithium-ion cells is bound by voltage, current, temperature, charge or discharge cycle numbers, and batteries aging and current state of charge. So the figure shows that the lithium-ion cells will quickly damage and maybe burst into the flame if overcharged above a certain voltage. Also, most of the lithium cells will get damaged if allowed to be a discharge below a certain voltage. So it is the safe region which is provided by the customers in specification. You had checked that it should be not discharged with a specific range of temperature, and not should be overcharged with the something amount of the value which is provided on that. So they, as they are very complex, they can have a very much hazardous nature in thermal runaway exposed to the nature. So the battery management system for electric vehicles, you can see the objectives are most of the objectives are to protect and prevent the system from the damage. So battery management system not only protects the battery pack, it also protects the electric vehicle ECU, electronic control unit, as well as it provides the information on the cloud platform with the help of CAN bus, and it uh, always mention the dashboard and informs the dashboard and user to have the safe charging levels and the cell balancing levels. It also increases the battery life. It has the good maintenance of the battery system is accurate, and it can perform in the reliable state. So overall, the BMS is the battery doctor. So the BMS functionality. So how it functions? So the BMS is an electronic system which manages the rechargeable battery pack or a cell, such as by protecting the battery from operating outside its safe operation area, monitoring its states, calculating data reporting, and that data controlling its environment authentication and the balancing the cells. So the further figure you can see, there is a power is given and the measurement of the each and every cell voltage, temperature, cell current. Then there is a diagnosis of those current is done. Then the pack voltage, current, temperature as per the customization and as per the specific requirement. And there is a diagnosis whether the cell is properly balanced, whether the flow of the current is current and voltage is properly done, whether the temperature of the cells, each and every cells are in level. And then this data is gathered together, and according to that, if any cell is of having the unbalance or having the faulty current or voltage or a temperature, then the calculation is set up, the program is set up into the BMS. Then the MOSFET will switch on and off, and they will cut off the switch, and according to that, there will be a protection to the short circuits and all. So SOC calculations, power limitations, cell balancing, data verification is done, and according to that, the analysis judgment is done by the BMS itself, and it protects the system, the battery from the exposure to the accidents or a severe thermal runaway. So this is the basic concept functionality of the BMS. So BMS monitoring system. So battery management system monitors system plays a very important role for representing various parameters such as voltage of the individual cells, minimum as well as maximum cell voltage is calculated. Whereas in temperature, average temperature, coolant intake temperature, coolant output temperature, as well as the temperature of individual cells are monitored. And in current, the current inlet and outlet of the battery is continuously monitored with this monitoring system. So how the high voltage control is done? So in lithium ion battery pack, it is very critical to measure the voltage in every cell. So it is very important to know the voltage in each and every cell for the safety purpose. So even if the voltage of the battery pack is within the acceptable limits, the voltage of the individual cell may exceed the individual limits. So if the cell is overcharged even by mistake, it can lead to a thermal runaway. So to ensure that we are not overcharging the cell, we must know the voltage of each and every cell and cannot skip the measuring voltage of any of the cell. So we have to particularly check and diagnose the voltage, proper voltage of intake as well as the output voltage of the cell as prescribed in the specification. So accordingly, the program is featured in the BMS. So to measure the voltage at the most basic level, the voltage is measured using the circuit that is known as the analog to digital converter. An analog to digital converter samples the voltage levels at its input levels and converts it into the binary system. So, as high power battery packs are usually comprised of a many battery cells in series, it is not efficient to use a separate analog to digital converter. So, instead of that, a different integrated circuit or a chipset are available for measuring the high voltage. Okay, so for number of cells, as we find the battery pack is considered consist of more than 80 cells in series or more than 200 cells in series. So for this huge number of cells, this analog to digital converter is not suitable. So for that, the special chipset are available, which are also called as a microcontrollers or ICs. So with that use of chipsets, we are able to recognize and diagnose each and every cell's voltage level. So the chipsets are relatively low cost chips and are used in models or slave units which are connected to the battery modules close to the battery cells. So these measurement of the chipsets make the voltage measurement transmit to the master unit, and the master unit does all the processing for the SOC as well as for SOH estimation. So advantage of these chipsets over the analog to digital converter is that they perform the difficult task of highly accurate voltage sensing with the high common mode rejection and fast response in the high electromagnetic interference. So and also high heat and high vibration environment it is capable for. So to illustrate this functionality of chipset, we have chosen the LTC 6811 chipset manufactured by the Linear Technology Corporation. So each part of the chipset is capable of monitoring up to 12 cells in series in a module. So the multiple chipsets can be arranged in series so that the hundreds of the cells can be monitored in the battery pack. So in order to connect the measurement from the one slave is also called as a module. Otherwise you will get confused. Slave is called as a module itself. So to one module to another, these chips have the isolated electronics. So that's also very highly noise immune and also has a robust communication in noisy environments. Now, how the temperature sensing is done with the help of BMS. So temperature sensing is very important when the when the operating temperature exceeds in the battery pack. So the battery cell characteristics depends on the temperature changes. So here in temperature sensing, resistance is low at warm temperature and high at a cold temperature. So for temperature measurement, there are two methods, that is thermocouple and thermistor. So thermocouple is basically a small voltage source which consists of two metal joints to each other, and the voltage is measured to detect the temperature. But this method is insufficient as vehicle is concerned, because for measuring the voltages, kind of a reference voltage is required. So we cannot use this method. This method is used only in for the illustration or for lab experimental use only. So thermistor, it is a basically a resistor which varies with the value of temperature. So there are two types of thermistor available. That is the negative temperature coefficient (NTC) in which the resistance is inversely proportional to the temperature, and second one is the positive temperature coefficient, that is PTC, in which the resistance is directly proportional to temperature. So if we measure the resistance, we can easily measure the temperature, but voltage is measured directly and resistance we cannot measure. So we use the voltage divider circuit for this. And the current measurement in the BMS. So measuring the current is very important, especially for determination of the state variables of the battery system. So depending on the battery type, the cell voltage only shows a low dependence on the SOC. A precise measurement of the total current allows for determining the SOC by integrating the current. And the current acquisition devices can be divided into two basic sensor, that is technologies as a galvanically connected and isolated method. So the widely used method for of a shunt resistor current sensing belongs to galvanically connected technology, and sensor used for the current measurement is the Hall effect sensor. So these Hall effect sensors are mounted on the battery pack on most of the cells, those who are inside the batteries. And with the help of this Hall effect sensor, uh, we can acquire the data of the temperature of the cells while performing or while running condition of the battery pack. So the isolated current acquisition utilize the electromagnetic properties of the current to acquire the magnetic field strength using Hall effect sensors. And besides the sensor technology, the position in the battery pack has to be considered as well. So during the designing of the battery pack, we have to simulate the battery model with the help of software, and we have to provide the thermal runaway. We have to provide uh, the current stability into that, and we have to check on what kind of area we can implement these sensors. If the battery system consists of a severable switchable strings, so it can be important to not only implement one main current monitoring device, but one device for each battery string. So this is important to stress the power misbalancing during the operation. Then coming towards the cell balancing is very important in order to drag out the required voltage from the battery pack. As compared to the Naxon EV, the battery pack provides almost 360 volt of total battery output voltage. So if the cells inside are not properly balanced, then there will be a drastically drop of the voltage. So for that purpose, cell balancing is very important. So in cell balancing, when any one cell in the battery pack exceeds the start balancing voltage, the BMS will begin the balancing algorithm for all the cells. Okay. So the purpose of this feature is to protect the cells from over discharge and to prevent the possible race condition between the BMS removes the charge from the alternate cells. So there are two methods basically are used, that is active and passive balancing. So what exactly happens in the active balancing? So in active balancing, it removes the charge from the higher energy cell and delivers it to the lower energy cell with the help of capacitor used for the storing the energy. Means the cell which is having a very less charge, and the cell another second cell which is having the higher charge, so it removes the energy from the higher cell and it transfer the energy to the lower charge cell with the help of capacitor in between. And the second one is the passive balancing. So whereas from the in passive balancing, the energy from the most charged cell is drawn out and dissipated as a heat form using the resistor or by the MOSFETs. So in passive balancing, the most charged cell, the charge is formed at the capture from the most power cell, and it is dragged to the lower charge cell in with the help of a resistor, and due to the formation of dissipation of heat. So in BMS, Active balancing is mostly preferred, and it is a well performed algorithm. So the most important concept, that is the state of charge. So just like as the what is the state of charge? So just like a fuel gauge in the traditional car, the SOC in BMS plays a very important role of indicator of the driving experience of an electric car. So you can find on dashboard the now also in conventional cars you can find the gasoline or petrol engine vehicles. They can have a range of almost after such so many liters of the petrol they can perform this range, particular range. So such a way the SOC is the very important factor in electric vehicles, that how much range or how much expected range the vehicle can run at a particular charging condition. So suppose it is a 80%, so it will run about 250 kilometers, or when the battery is full in condition, then the vehicle can run up to 300 kilometers. So this prediction, this estimation is done by the SOC, and this algorithm is built up and is decided by the BMS itself. So BMS distributes the load, and particularly with the help of that particular load on the battery pack, the SOC level is decided. If we drag the battery and we power the motor, insufficiently raise the power from the battery, then there will be a drastically change in the SOC also, because the whatever power we are capturing from the battery volt, if we accelerate as per the driving condition, rough driving, sporty mode condition, then there will be a large amount of power loss will be there to the motor side. So in this condition, there will be a drastically drop of the battery level charge. So the major factor that influence the SOC of the lithium battery cell is usable capacity of the cell. It is not constant but varies significantly with the temperature. So from the given formula below, where I is the current and the Cn is the maximum capacity that the battery can hold. Now, what is the purpose of SOC estimation? So, the battery application need to know two main battery quantities. That is, how much energy is available in the battery pack, and how much power is available in the battery pack to perform the task. Okay, so the energy is needed to estimate how much it can drive the EV, that is the total amount of work it can do, and the power required to estimate how much more acceleration or and braking is required for the power requirements. So as we cannot measure the available energy and power in a battery pack directly, so to evaluate energy, we need to know about all the cell SOC and total capacities of the battery pack. So for power evaluation, we need to know about all cells SOC as well as resistance of the cells. But we cannot measure SOC, resistance, and SOH directly. So we have to find some alternative or a way from these, as no sensors, such sensors are available to check the value of energy and power. So here is the model based estimators are there, in which we can do on the MATLAB simulation, voltage, current, temperature integration is done, and from that the pack voltage we can input the values, and from that we can get the estimated based on the SOC we can get the energy and power. And there are several methods of SOC estimations. So the voltage based method, which is done by measuring the cell terminal voltage under the load. So this method can cause problem, as it takes a significant amount of time for the voltage to reach a specified steady state value. So the Coulomb counting is the second. It is a current based method. The Coulomb counting method is one of the most general and simple method of estimating the SOC. So we use it for baseline comparison for more advanced methods. So the Coulomb counting method measures the current of the battery, and it integrates the current over the time to estimate the SOC. But the limitation of this method is it is inaccurate for current measurement, and it gives the large errors. So practically speaking, some phenomena such as decreasing the SOC when the battery is resting and the variations with the temperature changes, so cannot be captured by the Coulomb counting method. Then the third one is the model based method. So in this method, voltage and current measurement is integrated to estimate the SOC. And the most important feature and the algorithm which is used in BMS for SOC estimation is the Kalman filter method. So this algorithm, Kalman filter is an algorithm to estimate the inner state of any dynamic system. In this case, the SOC is estimated using the current and voltage measurements. The value of the cell voltage is estimated from the current measurements and compared to the actual measured voltage value. So subsequently, the error is incorporated in the estimation of the state of charge of the battery. So this method is computational based, and it needs for a suitable battery model and parameters in order to provide the accurate readings. So currently we are working in the same in the company. We are developing the BMS in which the Kalman filter algorithm is very important. For that we have to implement the specific battery parameters into that. What will be the current, maximum, minimum, nominal voltage of the battery pack, then temperature algorithm. So we have, according to that, we have to form the Kalman filter, and from that it is the most accurate method to trace the charge state of charge of the vehicle based on using the current and voltage measurement. So Kalman filter is totally computational based method. It is software based. So for in further upcoming sessions, you will find this Kalman filters methods in more detail. So use of Kalman filter. So basically, it is a iterative method used to calculate true value of any object whose value is not calculated directly. So it uses a set of equations to do that. As shown in the figure, the graph shows the temperature value estimated by the thermometer, which is more time consuming. So we use Kalman filter for getting more accurate values. So the Kalman filter takes initial value first, and in less time, temperature is get calculated with less number of inputs. As we can see, this X are basically the temperature input, and it takes a lot of time to get final actual temperature. So by implementing the Kalman filter, time will get minimized. So this is the block diagram of the Kalman filter, how it operates and how the estimation is done. So in order to estimate the values which are desired, we have to calculate 3 blocks multiple times, as this is the iterative method. So first one is the Kalman gain. In order to calculate the estimate second, we have a current value of estimate, but there are a lot of uncertainty within the current estimate. So at last we have to calculate the errors or the uncertainty in the estimate. In order to calculate the Kalman gain, we want two inputs, that is the error in the estimate. So this is calculated as uncertainty in the third estimate. So at very first time, we want the original error estimate which is there already in the system, and the error in the data input. So in order to estimate or calculate the current estimate, Kalman gain is one of the input, but it is not the only input we required. In order to calculate, we want previous estimate, as this current value is calculated in multiple times for first time original estimate. So is fitted, and original estimate is fitted, as well as we require the value of the data measure. We can put any value as the original estimate in the Kalman filter in a smarter enough to a zero down the value and measure it accordingly. So at last we have to calculate the error which is new in the estimate, input that that are the Kalman gain and the current estimate, as this new error is input to the Kalman gain. So every time we have to calculate the estimate, and process comes with the updates in the estimate, and more we can close the estimate. So this way we can get the estimation done, and it is, as it is a iterative method, so we have to find the errors and estimate it properly. So the next one is the state of health. So state of health is the aging process of the battery. So it is measured with the analysis of the aging process of the battery, how the battery is performing, how is the cycle life cycle of the battery is going on, how the calendar life is expected to do, and what are the in between. It is used to evaluate the battery value degradation. So what are the factors involved in the battery, how the battery is degrading based on its chemical compositions. Also, it is an indicator of whether maintenances are required or needed in future, or in between the service of the vehicle. So there are various methods to calculate the state of health by using the battery impedance, by using battery capacity, then charging and discharging cycles, that is the cycle life of the vehicle, and the calendar life. So by predicting the diagnosis the battery life, we can check the how much cycles the battery has been charged or discharged, and depending on that we can calculate the state of health of the particular battery. So our aim is important, that to predict the battery's health state. So this is the battery cell module and battery pack. So you can find the cylindrical cell, which is further combined with the module of the 8 cell, and then the huge battery pack is done with the 12 modules. So this combination is done to form the battery pack. Here you can diagrammatically found that Tesla Model S has been used with the battery module of containing 44 batteries of a single lithium-ion 18650 lithium-ion batteries. So these are combined, these are coupled with customized as per the voltage requirement, and then these modules are compiled on the chassis platform of the vehicle to form the large battery pack in order to get the required voltage output. So you can find there are 16 battery modules, or there are 7104 batteries make up the total Tesla S battery pack. So this much huge battery pack is required to for the traction motor. So the entire battery pack weighs around 1200 pounds. So this is the basic information which the modules and the battery pack is implemented in the vehicle. So here you can find the diagram where the battery pack has been developed. It has been packed with the help of the bus bar. It is packed on the bus bar, and on which the strips are mounted with the help of ultrasonic welding, and on that connections there is one input and output, positive terminal, and one is the negative terminal, and this is the BMS is connected to this battery pack, and these connections are connected to the cell monitoring unit, cell protection unit, and finally this cable is connected to the canvas unit, and from this canvas unit we can check the data of the vehicle, whether the battery pack is providing the sufficient voltage output, sufficient current, and we can diagnose the data on the computer itself. So topology based on the classification of BMS. So there are basically three main classification of the BMS topology. That is the distributed BMS. First one is the in which the every lithium-ion cell has its individual BMS. Then second is the centralized BMS. So there is a single BMS for controlling the complete battery pack. Then third one is the modular BMS. So this can also be called as a master slave BMS. So every battery module has a slave BMS that reports the master BMS at the last. So let's discuss about the distributed BMS. So distributed BMS is an electronic circuit attached to the single cell board that are placed directly on the cells being measured. So here you can find these are the prismatic cells. On each cell, these cell protection units are distributed. Means this distributed implemented in order to calculate the each cell, particularly individually each cell current voltage and temperature value. So it just uses the few communication wires between the cell boards and BMS controller, which handles the computation and communications towards the BMS and master slave BMS, and for the data is shown on the dashboard. So the advantage of this distributed topology, it has a measurement as it is connected to the individual cell. It has a connection reliability. There is an expansion versatility also. So the disadvantage is that there is a extra electronic circuits are required, and thus the system gets more costlier for prediction of this BMS values. So for large battery packs, it is not recommended to use the distributed topology as expensive, and there will be hardness problems. That comes with the centralized BMS. So centralized BMS is one central battery pack controller that monitors balance. So altogether, the battery pack is connected with the single BMS which reports, which also takes the data from the electronic control units, also diagnoses the data from motor and control, then charger, and it displays this data. So according to this algorithm, the centralized BMS is used for the single battery pack, which is included with the modules. So the entire unit is from which the wire harness n+1 wires from the n cells in series and temperature sense wires goes to the cells of the battery. So the center coupled
Excuse
with
me,
the
sir.
intelligent circuits that is responsible for internal communication. Hello, yeah.
Sorry for interruption. Are you still on? Are you on a centralized BMS or on a distributed BMS slide?
On centralized BMS.
Sir, right now the slide visible is distributed BMS.
Okay, because is it not visible?
Now it is coming, sir. Now it is coming. Now it is centralized BMS.
Okay.
Now it is okay, sir. Okay.
There must be some data due to data problem.
Okay. No problem, sir. No problem. Okay.
Yeah, but is my voice is audible properly? No.
Yes. Voice is audible, sir. Voice is audible.
Okay. So this central BMS is coupled with an intelligent circuit that is responsible for internal communication with the cell monitoring circuit for data acquisition, computing the battery state of charge and state of health, and for external communications with the ECUs, that is the electronic control unit. And this control unit, this BMS sends this data to the dashboard of the user. Also, with the help of CAN protocol, this data can be monitored and stored to the cloud platform. So on the way, when the vehicle is traveling, when the battery is performing, if there is a failure or any kind of a fault, then the user can find with the help of application what happened with the battery technology or what happened with the failure of the battery. So third one is the modular BMS. Hopefully this slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the modular BMS is basically it is divided into the multiple identical modules. So each is bundled with the wires going to one of the batteries pack. So among many models, one model act as a master and all other act as a slave devices, making it as a master slave configuration. So this slave device monitors, balances, and controls a group of cells, battery cells within the battery module. So it communicates with the master device through a communication interface. And this master is different from the modules and does not measure the voltage. So it only handles the complex algorithm computation and communication. So basically, we have seen this picture last slide, that this particular BMS is implemented on the module. Such BMS, such 16 or 8 modules are combined with the battery pack, and that all communication protocol is given to the CAN bus interface. Then altogether, this data is collected from all the modules consisting of particularly suppose 444 cells, and that data is collected in the one particular CAN bus interface, and from there we can interpret, we can check the data of the each and every cell voltage, current, temperature, and also evaluate the cell balancing of the particular modules or total battery pack. Then coming to the thermal management system. So now in this section, hopefully previous section is cleared, so that we can move towards the thermal management system.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thermal management system. Now in this section, we are going to learn about the thermal management system. So physically, thermal management system is a part of battery management system. So basically, we are going to learn like what is the thermal management system, then why do we actually require thermal management system, and later on we will discuss on the various techniques which are applied to do the thermal management system, and we'll be studying all those methods and techniques in much details. So what is the thermal management system? So thermal management system is basically the thermal management system. From the name itself, we can correlate like we have to manage some system thermally, means we have to control the temperature by applying certain technology for the system. So basically, all this technology used for thermal management system, they are based on the principle of thermodynamics and heat transfer. Now, in thermal management, heat transfer forms are of three types, that is conduction, convection, and radiation. So, these are the basic three processes that would occur for transfer of heat. Now, in electric vehicle, why the thermal management is very important? So, it is important to protect and insulate the battery. So basically, the protection of the batteries against high temperature and insulating other battery from external temperature. Now, battery management system is it is a must for vehicles which are running in a hot climate, or which are running in the on a cold climate. So basically, in extreme climate, whenever the electric vehicles are running, at the point to protect the lithium-ion batteries is must. So because that will eventually improve the life of the lithium-ion battery. So why do we need thermal management for lithium-ion batteries? So in this slide, we are going to learn why do we actually require thermal management system for specifically lithium-ion batteries. Now, in the data sheet of lithium-ion battery, if we check out that then there is always a mention that best operating temperature and best storage temperature. So they provide a range minimum to maximum temperature range, and for operating the lithium-ion battery in its best efficiency mode, we have to make sure that the batteries remain in the temperature range between 20 to 40 degrees Celsius. So now we have to keep the battery temperature in this range, and we know that this temperature range is actually the mid temperature range. But in countries like where most of the electric vehicles are moving and most automobiles are moving, the countries like India, China, USA, Europe, Russia, uh, they have a very cold climate to around 0 degree to even minus temperature. So now to maintain the temperature range between 20 to 40 degrees Celsius, we have to make sure that the battery temperature should come up to this level. So in those countries, we will actually require a heating system to make sure that the batteries remain warm, because the outside temperature will be very low. Now, in countries like India, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and all those countries, what happened? We all are warm countries, so our summer temperature they reach around 45 to 50 degrees Celsius somewhere. So, to maintain the batteries in this temperature condition, we have to apply some cooling techniques. So, as per the climatical condition, thermal management will get differ. So, this is the one of the reason we need a thermal management system. And second is to protect the lithium-ion batteries going against the thermal runaway. So, why does the battery get heated? So now in this slide, we are going to learn about why do battery get heated up, and now just see the image. Uh, any lithium battery which is there, it has the internal resistance associated with it, right? So though the value of the internal resistance is very small, that is 20 to 25 milliohms resistance, but it is always present because the physically its chemical process and its chemical component, there will be always some resistance will be uh, available in that. So that will not allow very smooth transfer of the electrons and protons inside the system. So in electrical term, we can say that we called as a resistance of the battery. So now, when there is a flow of current across the lithium battery, either it might be charging or it might be discharging. So whenever there is a flow of current through the battery, there will be also a flow of current through this resistance. And from the Ohm's law, we know that there would be a current or a voltage across that internal resistance. And that resistance, whenever the current is flowing, I square R loss. So there will be a heat generation across that internal resistance, and that heat is equal to the I square multiplied by R. So that is the current which is flowing through the battery square multiplied by the internal resistance. So this heat will be dissipated in the form of like a resistive heat, and it will eventually rise the temperature of the battery. So this is the reason why batteries get heated. So there we find a reason to cool the battery, not just the ambient temperature that affects, but the internal battery resistance also produces a lot of heat and very high current flow through the system. So that is why this is the reason the battery gets heated. So moving towards the lithium ion battery thermal runaway. So now in this, when the batteries are heated up to a certain range or up to a certain limit, then it is fine. Like we can cool those batteries. But now sometimes you might have read some news that the person is charging his phone and suddenly the mobile get exploded, and there was some accident happen. So similarly, in some electric moped, it got suddenly hitting up and explosion took place. Now, why all this accident took place, and what is the reason behind all these accident are regarding the hitting of the battery and explosion, fire creation of the battery. So all behind that is the reason of thermal runaway. Now, basically, what is the thermal runaway? So, thermal runaway is mainly a scenario which generally occurs in which there is a rising of temperature very rapidly of the battery, and basically it is unstoppable chain reaction. So means continuously battery gets heated up, temperature gets rises very heavily, and all this process occurs in very short time. And the temperature might go up to 300 to 400 degrees Celsius, and battery suddenly discharges. But when the temperature rises around 300 to 400 degrees Celsius, there is a good chance that the battery might get exploded and fire may occur. So this is actually happens during the thermal runaway. So as per the battery management design, we have to always make sure that the battery temperature doesn't go beyond the certain temperature, because if we are going if we are running those batteries for 50 to 60 degrees Celsius, and suddenly there might be a battery temperature rise rapidly, and it may occur into a thermal runaway. Now we can know how the thermal runaway can occur. What are the reasons we can think of which may occur the thermal runaway? So the thermal runaway can occur in we have four reasons for that. For what the condition of the thermal runaway occurs. So the first one is the internal short circuit, means that due to some accident or chemical impact internally in the battery, if there is some short circuit between the cathode and anode, and separator of the lithium ion battery may get damaged, and in that condition internal short circuit may occur. And in that condition there is a very smooth transfer of electrons, and when there is a very smooth transfer of electrons, a very high current flows through the circuit. So that can be the reason. Then second one is the external short circuit, means like by some mistakes or by some accident, the positive and the negative terminal may get shortened, and in that condition thermal runaway can occur. Then the third one is the poor charging of the battery, that we didn't have to overcharge the battery, and we have to always make sure that the battery voltages and charging, they always remain in a certain limit. So like if we go the voltage of the battery goes beyond the limit, the over voltage limit of the battery, then there is a chance of going into the thermal runaway. So this is the major reason, like we know that the mobile during the charging they got exploded. So the reason behind the explosion is always overcharging of the battery, because of the battery management system of that particular battery is not proper. It might get damaged in that condition. So, and also the battery might exploded due to the thermal runaway. And the fourth last reason is the excessive current when the charging or the discharging the battery. For example, during the rapid charging or fast charging, like if the battery is not capable of fast charging, then then very current will be flowing from, and the temperature of the battery may be rising. That can be the reason for the thermal runaway. So this is all about the thermal runaway, and why the thermal runaway occurs, and what is the main reasons of thermal runaway. So the techniques of battery cooling, you must be visible with this slide. Techniques of battery cooling.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, so now in this, we are going to learn about what are the various techniques to control the temperature of the battery for cooling. So specifically, we are going to learn about the battery cooling, because in India and all East Asia country, the climate are very hot, and for that we require a cooling of the battery. So here in this, we are specifically going to learn about the cooling methods for the lithium ion batteries. So the first method, if we talk about, that is the heat sink. Basically, the heat sink are the cheapest method of cooling the system. In heat sink, aluminum and copper, which is thermally highly conductive material, that is directly connected to the heat source, and through conduction process the heat is transferred from the heat source to the aluminum or copper heat sink. And this heat sink basically removes the heat in the form of air, atmosphere, or it might transfer into the third material. So for example, the PCB circuits board with ICs, and MOSFETs, they are always connected to the heat sink. So basically, the MOSFET heat is transferred to the heat sink to make sure the MOSFET remains cool. Then the second one is the air cooling. So basically, the air cooling is easiest method of cooling the batteries. So it is a simple, when there is a fan, we can call it as a air cooling. But there are various types of air cooling also done. Then there is a third one is liquid cooling. Like if liquid is passing through a certain system to cool that battery or a system, we generally call that the liquid cooling system. So in those basically liquids are having the higher conductivity of temperature, and they are specifically used for cooling purpose. So as shown in the figure, liquid cooling system uses the water glycol coolant as the thermal medium. So this cooling system consists of cooling pipe that winds through the battery pack and carries the flow of water glycol coolant. So the thermal contact with the cell is through their sides by the thermal transfer material. So this removes the heat from the side of the cells. So due to heat transfer, the cells at the end of the cooling pipe will have the significantly higher temperature than the cells at the beginning of the cooling passage. Then the fourth one is the phase change material and thermoelectric cooling. So these two methods might be new for you, but because the top three methods you might have heard of or studied previously. Apart from this, in EV propulsion system, an electric motor also generates a relatively large amount of heat due to the operating and driving cycle. The main challenge of the thermal management system is in electric motor is to efficiently remove the heat and maintain the motor's temperature within the prescribed range while minimizing the energy consumption. So thus an efficient cooling system is required for the thermal management system of the motor also. So here you can find this is the cooling system required for the battery pack. For the large battery pack, suppose we can consider this is the module, and in this the cooling terminals has been implemented. So the cooling terminal is implemented in such a way that all the sides of the cell will be get covered, and when we pass the water glycol inside that, it has the thermal conductivity properties, and due to this we can have the better operating temperature of the battery pack. So this is implemented in the Tesla's battery pack, and this is the projected one. We had done the projection on the CAMSOL software, in which you can find the temperature ranges, and the blue path is shown as the battery is in the safe operating zone, and the red path you can see that it requires some cooling around it. So this is the console interface where we had shown the demo of it. Here the cylindrical cells are attached, and into over that there is a liquid cooling path is shown, and this coolant interface is given the path of inlet water and outlet water. So this way you can find there is a heat transfer rate is achieved, and the thermal techniques are applied in battery cooling system. So this is what all about the batteries and battery management system and thermal management system. So if you have any kind of a doubt, please let me know and we can discuss the questions on that.
Sir, one small doubt. When we purchase the battery, whether this battery cooling system is already existing or shall we configure it? Means during purchasement, shall we customize it, or is it already available there?
Now the battery packs are available in the output voltage of 48 volt, 60 volt, 72 volts. So as per that capacity, they are used for moped vehicles. That is the Hero Electric two-wheelers, mopeds, and there are many more two-wheelers available in the market. So for that battery pack, lithium iron phosphate cells are used, which do not require any kind of a thermal management, as their operating temperature capability is almost 250 degrees Celsius. So in that condition, they are small pack and they are compiled with the casing, proper casing implemented with the BMS. They are not provided with any thermal implementation into that. But if you are considering with the higher voltage pack, and for that, if you are considering the pack into that modules, and for the higher pack like Tata Nexon having the output voltage of more than 300 voltage or 360 volt, then for in that condition you have to implement the proper thermal cooling system. Nowadays you can find the you can get the cells, and from that cells you will you have to mount the cells on the bus bar, and from that bus bar, as per the series and parallel communication combination calculations, you can configure your battery pack, and then you can decide whether the thermal on the software you can decide what kind of thermal properties are required, how the temperature performance is being built up, and on that design you can have implement the cooling system on that.
Okay, sir. Okay, it is clear now, sir.
Okay, anything else?
Any student, any question is there? Please ask right now.
Hopefully today's session was quite understood, and the sufficiently whatever content I had put, it was clear to you. If you have any doubts, please let me know.
Sir, actually, I had one.
Yeah.
So, if we consider this above diagram, and instead of cylindrical cells, if we consider the prismatic cells,
Okay.
so in that case, cooling would be difficult, or what means, because as we can see, the prismatic cells, the flat faces are joined to each other, means they are closely packed to each other. So for
Right.
cooling, we have only a small width required available with us.
Yeah. For in that condition, you have to provide the flat cooling channels. So in that cooling channels, the cooling channels will be get attached to the surface, flattened surface of the prismatic cells. So in that way, you can minimize the rate of thermal runaway. There is
So,
nothing different architecture. Yeah.
but that will ultimately impact my packing efficiency, na?
No. There will not impact the packing efficiency. We have to arrange the cells in such a manner that it will get compiled into that module. And after that, yeah, the pack will be the bulky and it will require more space as compared to the cylindrical cell. But there is a implementation of the thermal interface as just like a cylindrical cells. But there is a structure is different. There is a flattened structure is used for the thermal implementation. There is a COMSOL software is also available. So this COMSOL software, you can give the data input, and as per the battery chemistry, battery shape, we can calculate the thermal output and best operating condition of the particular cell chemistry.
Okay, sir.
For considering for a small battery packs with considering a 16 series or a 32 series, there is not much requirement of a thermal management because they are already exposed to the air cooling. But for larger packs, when we are integrated it into the module and we are going to build up for a higher larger packs more than 30.2 kilowatt hour, then in that condition there is a thermal cooling is must in order to reduce the thermal runaway and to make the battery pack working in safe condition. Yes, anything else?
Is there any doubt? Satyam?
So here you can see, are you visible with the battery cell module and battery pack slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Visible.
sir.
So this is the prototype battery pack. So this way the battery is built and designed. So according to the cell configuration, so around these are the 20 series and suppose 8 in parallel cells. So as per that voltage value, the battery is configured and it has been designed, and it is implemented with the BMS. So you can find this is the 48 volt BMS, and these are the 13 series cells are connected. So from that, when the battery pack is totally working and the output voltage is sufficient, 48 volt, then the battery casing is done. Battery casing is also important to withstand the vibrations and to provide any kind of jerk to that battery pack. So these packs are used for mostly electric two-wheelers and all. So according to the capacity and output voltage, we use these battery packs. So this architecture is used in Tesla Model S, and you can also check the specification of Tata Nexon, where how the battery packs, how many cells are used, and that also in Tata Nexon there are 7,000 cells are used with the output capacity of 30.2 kilowatt hour and having the voltage of I think 260 volt. So the battery management system, then thermal management system, and all the chemistries are very important. Battery management system with is completely hardware. It is embedded with the CAN protocol, and there is a huge development and R&D is going on, and there is a large job opportunities also available. Currently, I am also working on the battery management system development, and we are making the product development on the Made in India platform. So as per the capability for 48 volt, for 60 volt, 72 volt, and more larger than that, we are configuring the BMS suitable for every kind of a battery packs. So initially, sir, you can bring those cells and in such a way that you can compile this battery pack. And last, with the help of multimeter, you can check the output of that battery voltage. If possible,
Okay.
then I can bring this battery. We can order these batteries, and we can configure itself in our college campus also,
Okay.
if time
Okay.
permits. Yeah.
Okay.
So this BMS performs very important role because the lithium cells cannot be directly charged, and it is very critical. They are very complex in nature. They require specific operating range, temperature, and voltage. So in order to that, we implement the BMS. So BMS includes the cell balancing, voltage, current, and temperature. Also, there is a short circuit protection unit is inbuilt in that, so it is very must. And also during the charging condition, the it also decides the charger to how much current should be flow into the battery, and there how much time there will be a cutoff of the current into that, because the xenon diode is allowed is transmitted into that, and this diode only takes the flow from one direction, and after a certain condition it cut off the condition, and there will be no return supply to the charger condition, and there will be a safe operating condition to the battery. Also, the more newer technologies are been developing for the regenerative braking. In regenerative braking also, we are giving the external source of energy to the battery, where the motor acts as an alternator, and we can power up the battery on the way when the motor is running in the idle condition. Also, there are nano wind circulation are used. So it is covered with the radiator part, and it is covered to the aerodynamic part of the vehicle. As per the when the vehicle moves, the fan blades moves, and due to that, the supply is given to the battery pack. In some of the vehicles where there is a sufficient temperature is available, so sufficient sun rays are available, in that condition it is also implemented with the solar panels on the top of the vehicle, which can considerably they can power up the cells with the 20 to 50% of the efficiency. So these are also new technology. Solid cell batteries and fuel cell batteries are also in development stage, which are having the internal capacity and more cycle life. And once they are charged, they can have a range of almost more than 500 kilometers. So these are all Japanese batteries. They are also in the development stage. But as this development will be done and the vehicles will be running on the road condition, it will also impact the price. Also, it will be more expensive for the middle class people.
Okay. One small doubt. Generally, when we talk about the electric vehicles, many people are saying a very rough word, fast charging of batteries. So fast means at what a thin line of difference we should say this is fast or this is medium or this is slow. Fast means
Yeah, yeah.
is it only 2 hours or 3 hours or means is it that directly pointing to the hours or is it something different? Means we could not understand this fast charging. किसको fast
Yeah,
कहेगा
yeah,
ही
yeah.
और किसको slow और किसको it.
Right, right.
That
I
may be
understood
something.
that.
Sorry, sir, that it may be something different, but just a very commonly asked question. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Any common people can have a doubt about that. But nowadays, the government is implementing, as you can have the collaboration with Tata Power and most of the HP petrol pumps. They are converting into the charging stations. So the reason behind it is uh, it is implemented with the DC charger into that. So as batteries requires the DC charger, DC current into that, when the battery from the DC charger is get connected, so the battery pack get charged in just 45 to 1 hour. Whereas when we compare to our household supply, when it is implemented with the AC, so there is a converter. So converter requires more power, more time to convert the AC power into DC supply. So when we connect it to the battery, so it requires 8 hours. So due to that household AC power to DC power conversion, it takes more time for charging the battery as compared to as per the C ratings for DC supply. 45 to 1 hour is sufficient when the charging stations will be set up. So in Pune, also in northern part of Delhi, also in Chennai and Bangalore, most of the metro cities they are implemented with the DC chargers stations, and hopefully very soon our Indian most of the petrol pumps will be converted into the battery charger stations. So if this problem will be sorted out, then most of the people will recommend for the EV vehicles.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, it is clear now, sir.
So it is almost 12 o'clock. Almost we had done a lecture of 2 hours. So hopefully you are not bored. Still we can continue if you have any kind of doubts.
I request students if any doubt is there, you can ask right now.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, as we have seen various types of lithium-ion batteries like lithium, cobalt, lithium manganese. So the electrolyte solution, is it different for different types of batteries or is it same?
No, it is same. Only there is a difference in electrodes, that is anode and cathodes. Most of the time, the cathode has the combination of suppose nickel, manganese, cobalt, or a composition of lithium, ferrous phosphate, or uh, lithium, nickel, cobalt, magnesium, cobalt, phosphate. So there is a change in cathode, and on the time at the time of anode there is always a graphite present in that. So electrolyte act as a catalyst and there is a electrochemical reaction between that, and due to this the negative ions flows towards the positive, and this way the battery chemistry runs. So there is nothing different in the electrochemical composition.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But for most recommended you can find if you open the batteries of the vehicles or two wheelers, then you can find most of the cylindrical cells are used, because the way of the coating is done, it is hard casing is there. Even though they are little bit heavy in weight, but they are having a good specific conductivity, and they had good vibration conductivity also. So, and also it can utilize the best space for battery packing. Cost of production is also low as compared to other battery chemistry. So mostly lithium iron phosphate is commonly used. Also in Tata Nexon, you can find lithium iron phosphate cylindrical cells chemistries are used. Okay, so should we wind up now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I think there is no any doubt, so we can wind up now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
On
Hopefully
behalf
the
of
session
all
was
the
good,
students, I'm
because yeah, in next week one of my colleague, he is expert on electronics and atomization of electric vehicles. So he will be
okay.
conducting the
Okay.
lectures on Saturday, Sunday, and if possible,
Okay.
in between, if you got any particular slot, then please let me know. I will request him
Okay.
to deliver the lectures in
Okay.
that flexible slot, because HOD sir has already described that you have the term end in just 22nd of December. So before that, we will get the syllabus completed. At least first 3 units will be completed. Also, one of the topic
Okay.
on motor and motor controls will be covered up to next
Okay.
week. So
Okay.
these 3 units will be get much familiar to you.
Okay, sir. And I definitely will have a detailed discussion with you regarding the slots, free timing,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
the next session's timetable. Okay.
Yes, yes. Hopefully, students like the discussions and whatever way of lecture sessions I had conducted, because this was my first time and I don't do the professionalism in this particular type, because as I was a particular alumni for this KPP Polytechnic, so I took the initiative for this rural area people, and we can say the knowledge sharing is very important to the students. So Purkar sir has approached me, as well as Surenchi sir has approached me. So with discussion with HOD sir, it was my privilege to took the session.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I request all the students. Anybody want to say anything about it? What about the visibility of the slide, voice, content, everything? If anybody want to give the feedback, you are now free.
Does the lecture were sufficient, or the content what was good, or the way of language?
Actually, I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So actually, in the initial phase, we were told that the external faculty would take the lectures. So we had some expectations, but to be frank enough, after this lecture was beyond our expectations, sir.
Okay. Okay.
That
That's
was
very
that
good.
damn good.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
so much. Because I thought if kind of any kind of a implementation or any kind of a changes should be done, then you are always welcome. Because you had appreciated what content, what way of language I had used. It was a very basic, because if you read the books, you will get some more. Drastically more content in which you need to know the fundamentals of it.
Okay, sir. Now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Now,
Hopefully,
now,
yeah.
yeah.
Have you recorded the lecture, both two
Yes,
lectures?
sir. I have recorded everything. So I have noted down. Even I am also taking the notes, and I have the recording also. No problem.
Okay, okay. And let me know if you are going to do any kind of a retrofitment or some kind of a projects. Then
Yes, sir.
definitely we can have a call, or if possible, I can visit to college and we will discuss on that.
Yes, yes, sir. Definitely, I have some good small plans in my mind that how to work out it. But what happened? I am just concentrating on the T activities, sorry, third year activities. Some training and placement activities are also there. So
Okay.
once everything get finalized and materialized, accordingly, I will take your guidance that what is your free slot and your available timing. Accordingly, I will
Definitely.
take the availability of the students also, so
Sure,
that
sure. Yeah.
that plans will be comfortable for you as well as for students. And the main
Okay.
important point, that must be very contentful, means only to conduct, that is not my aim. My main aim is to have a very healthy discussion between students and you, and from that discussion I am also getting some new information or latest
Yes,
or
yes,
advanced
yes.
info. That is my
Yes.
simple.
Working output model is very important rather
Yes.
than, yeah.
Yeah. So and I think everybody on this forum is agree with me. This discussion requires a time. Means we just within half an hour or 1 hour we cannot complete everything. Means we cannot get the knowledge of electric vehicle. It takes a lot of time, a stage by stage discussion, and lot many parameters are there. So that
Yes.
some very good platform I want to create for students as well as for staff also. So once it is get planned, if it is planned in this semester, it will be very better. But if it is not, then in coming semesters, definitely I will take your help, sir.
Yes, we can start from the new batches also, and
Yes,
initially we can have more concentrate on that.
yes, definitely, sir. Definitely. Thank you very much, sir, for
Okay,
spending
thank
your
you so much.
valuable time on
Yeah.
this. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Have a
okay,
nice day. Yeah, thank you.
okay. Thank you. With the kind permission, now I would like to end up the lecture. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir.
Okay, okay.